Okay, hi guys, Gary and Olga. How are you doing today?
Good, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Great. Yeah, great to have a discussion. I just wanted to ask you a few questions about your journey into forest bathing and kind of your plans for the future. I feel like everyone's really interested in this. I certainly am. I don't think I've heard the absolute full story yet. So I'm wondering what led you both to forest bathing itself?
Oh, so I start.
Ladies first.
I start. So for me, I would say I'm quite a practical person. So if I do something, I really need to understand the value of it for myself. And so my story is that when I was in my late teens, early 20s, I was suffering with mental health issues, including anxiety, depression, panic attacks. And I was living in central London, so there wasn't much greenery around. And this is around the time in about 10 years ago, I met Gary, and Gary was already exploring the benefits of nature. And we were starting to go out into nature together. And I started seeing the benefits of nature on my health and well-being. It would be like an instant effect sometimes, because I would just go into nature for maybe 15 minutes, 20 minutes and see an effect. And if I went to public park, for example, in central London, it would be one type of effect. But then if we've managed to go in the countryside, in ancient woodland, it would be even more profound. And the more I started doing it, the more I actually wanted to do it and felt more at home in these environments. And that took me back to my childhood, back in Russia, where I would spend sometimes even 3 months in a countryside house where we didn't have hot water. We had like very simple compost with, say, toilets, and it was very rustic, but we were in such communication with nature. We were so in tune with it. And I realized that it was actually part of me that I really wanted to uncover and pursue. And that's how out of helping myself, my passion to help others through nature arose, and we built the Forest Bathing Institute.
So my journey, so there was a preceding phase running up to the Forest Bathing Institute. So I think I found yoga in 2009 after a period of depression. I mean, it was the existential questions I was asking of myself. Why am I here? What am I going to do with my life? And I wanted to help people. That was always at the front of it, and I didn't feel able to do that in the corporate world. So between 2010, 2015, I probably traveled about 200,000 miles in search of those answers to those questions. So I was an ancient sites tour guide. But what ended up happening was I was taking people into ancient temples and Stonehenge and Machu Picchu and places, but for meditation purposes. So shared many life-changing experiences around the world. But my interest was slowly shifting to nature because of the practical considerations and cost of taking people to the Great Pyramid and things. And so I started to look at ancient forests because I was feeling different in some of these places I was spending time. So the Google search was, what are the health benefits of older trees? That's what led me to find forest bathing. And Olga and I are both very practical. So because there was this foundation of medical science behind forest bathing, I think we both got very excited about it. It just makes a lot of sense. And of course, with the data, it's going to be of interest to everybody, which is what we've now found out. So of course, the government and universities and the healthcare institutions, and of course, people generally of all ages. So that led to the start of the Forest Bathing Institute. We brainstormed on our honeymoon because there was a missed opportunity for the UK. So if you've evidenced the health benefits of nature and you can measure it scientifically, then it's obviously easy to replicate it if you get the universities interested. So then you want to work out how to apply it to the kind of population size that they did in Japan, which was millions. And of course, the win-win is you're helping people generally with a wide range of different conditions and concerns, which we now know it's possible to help. And at the same time, inspiring them to love and protect nature. So we kind of got the two paths where obviously you want to help people, but you want to help everything. And so that's why it's such a big part of my heart, and I'm sure our hearts. So yeah, literally helping everything from the smallest microbe in the forest, obviously all the way up to the communities surrounding it. So it's a very rewarding path to follow.
Yeah, that's a really winding journey, I feel, for both of you. And it's amazing how much you traveled as well, Gary. So now that you have established the Forest Bathing Institute, what's important to you in terms of being a leader? What does it mean to you to be a leader in these times?
Everything. It seems like a greater concern on so much that we're involved with. I mean, it's a dream come true, but I think we exceeded our dreams actually a few years ago, because when you start with nothing, I mean, there was no interest in 2016. Of course, nobody knew about forest bathing, and there wasn't any journalist conversations in the press about the health benefits of nature. I mean, it was just like a desert. So it was, you could say, a bit brave to throw our lives, literally, throw our lives behind it and our futures. But it was just very clear. I think we feel it so cleanly in the heart. It's like there's never kind of any indecision. It's like, this is the path. It's very obvious that's what we need to do, and whatever the challenges that come with that will be overcome, because of course we now know that there's a lot of other caring people, and we've built this huge network, and at this point we can't even keep up with the university interest. I mean, it's all over the planet. We keep trying to keep a record of how many universities we're talking to. It's 70 plus at this stage, with a new one turning up every 2 or 3 days or something. So of course there's a lot of senior stakeholders and major decision makers that are enabling us to do what we love.
And I think also once we become parents, for us, it sense of responsibility, and also taking care of our team, it became even more important. So we always strive to create this community of people in the team, in the TFBI team, where we would support each other, we would share our opinions, and we would grow, we say, like a forest grows. It's interconnected organism that organically, naturally grows together, and all the members supporting each other. And I'm really happy to say we have created a very wonderful support system in our team, and beautiful team members in it. And just this sense of responsibility, I think the more we're doing, the more we are achieving in a way, the more we feel the sense of responsibility for the people in the team, and also what we're doing, what kind of example we're setting up, because we've become, I could say, influencers in our area of expertise. And also what's, in a way, like, it gives you a bigger picture. Kind of start small, maybe with something that an idea comes around, and then it grows, but then it grows so big that you are no longer thinking just of yourself. You're then thinking about your team, your community, your country, and then the whole world, and the planet, and the trees, and the bees, and all other creatures around, and think, what do I want to leave behind? And it's a very beautiful feeling, but sometimes it takes you back to that sense again of responsibility, where you can't just go on with your thoughts and, forget what's in your community, forget what's what's happening in your team. You always come back, make sure that the ground is strong and stable, and then out of this stability, you grow further out. So that's how I would describe what's happening with us in leadership sense.
That's very holistic. So yeah, forest bathing is such a hot topic now. It's really interesting how much it's changed since you started. Where do you see the Forest Bathing Institute going from here?
Well, we are in the process of launching a new organisation. So yeah, so there's the next steps. And so the future will involve also looking at the health benefits of blue space. So the vision is, of course, yeah, so we're now working globally, so increasingly working globally. And nature, you see different aspects in different places. So we've been running sessions at Newlands Corner for a long time, but then we started to travel across England to different forests. And in different forests, different things were more apparent. So we would suddenly picked up on like the sounds of the chiff-chaffs in one forest. But then when we went back to Newlands Corner, you're then tuning, you're like, oh, the chiff-chaffs are here. But I hadn't noticed that before. So that's how it works across the UK, but it also works globally. So we pick up on different things in different forests and different environments with different people, different biodiversity. So you want to work holistically, globally, to build up this big picture of the relevance of nature to health and well-being and how we all protect it. So doing it in a joined up approach rather than a fragmented way, because you don't see so much. So that is the future. And of course, you've got to bring blue space in. There's normally two places people say that they feel better when they go into nature. It's going to the forest or go by the sea. So there's unique benefits, obviously, to both environments. And when you're trying to help as many people as possible, and accessibility is so crucial, yeah, how do we get as many as possible into these spaces? Then obviously blue space is a big part of that.
And I'll also add to that, because Gary talked about accessibility. So for us, it's a very important topic, and it has been crucial for this year because we've been working with a few charities and fundraisers, local governments, to make sure that we're able to reach the vulnerable people in communities and provide transport so that they can have access to nature and to our sessions. So for me, it's a big mission that I would feel very humble if I could be part of, making sure that all people have access to nature. It doesn't matter which background you are from, where you live, your age, or any other background. So for me, I think nature has so many benefits, and it's really amazing because it can benefit anyone. And it has very few, if none, I don't know actually of any side effects of being in nature, only maybe that you get so hooked up that you might start.
Positive side effects.
Positive, only positive. But for me, it would be making sure that we work more with charities and communities so that we can bring forest bathing, nature therapy to those people who most need it, but who unfortunately might not have access to transport or other means to get to our sessions. That's number one. Number two, as Gary said, spreading what we're doing to other countries in the world. And we are now working with a few key places in the world, but actually spreading it globally. So it becomes like household thing to do, like yoga, you know, everyone in the world really now knows what yoga is. Well, most parts of the world, definitely. So that then comes the preservation of nature. So out of that understanding of the value comes the need and the understanding that we need to preserve nature. So hopefully, I'm a big supporter, so is Gary, of rewilding. So in a very of course, way that needs to be thought through, but thinking about the ways that we can actually give nature a bit more footing in this world rather than try to dominate it, and how we can bring those natural environments back to thriving so that we can also thrive in those. And also, so one of our projects now involves green social prescribing in Surrey County in the UK. So spreading those type of projects, green social prescribing, all over UK, and then hoping in other countries as well, making forest bathing part of the NHS national health systems and private health systems all over the world. And also bringing it into education, because I think one of the main things that's lacking at the moment is education, because yes, there are problems sometimes with transport funding, but the third main problem that I see working with vulnerable communities or communities who don't have access to nature, sometimes they live a mile away from green or blue space, but they can't they don't go there just because they don't see the necessity or how they would benefit. So for us, it's very important to educate people. And I think as early as even kindergarten, that could really help when children know how to engage with nature. They know how to safely engage and play and explore, and it can really boost their confidence, but also health and well-being. It can help with we know that there are beautiful results from our studies, like nature can help with anxiety and depression and rumination of thought, which is mental health problems, unfortunately, rising in especially younger population now. So giving children from the young age the tools and understanding of what nature really means for them, but also as a bigger picture of why we need to value nature or how we can preserve nature, I think that would be really important work for us to do in the future.
I will add, so what we've been doing is working with an area of 160 square miles of Surrey. That was the test bed. So what's happened, even just the space of this year, is we've now got a network of charities covering almost the entirety of Surrey that want to work with us. So we're dramatically, obviously, firing up new sessions. The feedback from all of the charities has really been overwhelming, heartwarming, a bit tear-jerking. Helping homeless charities and refugees and mental health charities. And so now what's happening, which is the exciting bit, is we've got other areas of natural beauty coming on board, because we've run the pilot. I mean, you do get incredible results by using nature for health and well-being. It just gives people so much. So it's a very cost-effective way of helping a lot of people with a lot of different things, and that's why we do the university research to evidence that. So now we're firing up hundreds more square miles with the same model that's worked so well, and of course, and in tandem with that, we're dramatically scaling up the university studies. So of course, you start with small pilots with small groups, but for the NHS purposes, the larger the sample size, obviously, the more interesting, you could say, or more relevant the data is to them. So that's what we're already working on. So it's like each piece of the puzzle falls into place once you accomplish a step. So it's definitely a rapid time of very positive change in the right direction. Very exciting, but certainly keeps us busy.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah, it really reminds me of the metaphor you used earlier about it being like the forest supporting each other. So wholesome. And I'm wondering now if you remember any feedback from forest bathing sessions you've run, because that's how it all started. You were just running the sessions. So is there anything that stands out to you now looking back that, you know, really impacted you or made you see things differently?
Oh, yes. Well, yeah, so many, because I mean, I've lost track of the amount of sessions that we've run, but it must be approaching 300 sessions or something. So you got quite feedback from quite a few thousand people at that phase. But I mean, the overall conclusion is that anyone that I remember coming to a session and looking like life had been giving them a hard time. So your heart, if I looked at somebody at the start of a session and my heart went out to them, hoping to give them something. By the end of the session, they got way more than even that I dreamed of, and every time. So that helped grow a confidence in nature, because the guide obviously runs a session and keeps people safe, but of course the main inspiration is nature itself, that's touching and moving and helping people. So you're obviously just facilitating that process. But there's just been so many incredible stories over time. But what really inspired me was hearing from all the people at the sessions, because it's not good enough that it just helps Gary, and it's not good enough that it just helps Gary and Olga. So the more people you hear from, the more confidence you gain that this is useful and relevant to more people. So from those early sessions, the confidence grew, and we kept running the sessions and getting more and more amazing feedback. And of course, now the team's running sessions across the country, and people don't respond in a lukewarm way. So the average response is you're able to reach sort of 9 out of 10 people deeply, and that it means a lot to them. So you could say it's highly relevant and useful. So as we get more feedback, it just fosters extra motivation. And of course, when you're running sessions for people that have been homeless, and of course life's been so difficult, and I think they were possibly one of the most enthusiastic groups. We were told that they were talking at the shelter where they were staying constantly about the forest bathing sessions. And like with the refugee charity, we realized that we were giving them some optimism and some hope, something to look forward to, because they're just in a hotel, nothing, perhaps apart from the TV. So nothing to really look forward to. So when we were running a 6-week program, it was giving them something to look forward to in the week. So that, and hope is just a very powerful thing in itself. So it's definitely been a dramatic year of learning, but I'd say a rocket boost of motivation at the same time. But now, I guess there's an extra urgency to try and help more people in similar situations. And that's without considering of course, the biodiversity loss, which is the other urgency in our hearts, because the sessions are designed to educate and empower people and get involved, throw their hearts into being part of the solution, because it needs a lot of us.
And I would probably just add to that, because when we did our recent study with the UCL University in London, with 3 charities, including refugee charity and Big Leaf, as far as I remember. I remember one thing was very touching, because Gary usually feedbacks me what feedback we got. And one lady, refugee lady, she came back to this country without her children. And as being a parent, and it's a bit emotional, it's she had to leave her children behind, but of course she would always think about her children, how she couldn't be with them and how she really wanted to be with them. So, and she was staying in a hotel, and it was really difficult for her emotionally, because she couldn't stop thinking about her children. And our sessions were giving her that time to just be and relax. And even for someone, I know it might not sound a lot, but if you are a parent who can't be with your children, and you're constantly, of course, thinking about it, and it's really painful, and giving someone like that even a few hours of a break, not to think about that pain, I think it's quite powerful. And for me, it was, when I was suffering with my mental health, it was a similar way when I would go into nature, and I would no longer have that rumination of thoughts, bringing all the painful experiences. I think it, and I saw it in so many people sometimes, even professors from universities. We had a professor come to us who worked with PTSD sufferers, veterans, and even he was amazed how deep this experience went for him. We did a session for the University of Derby when we were just starting in Sherwood Forest, and one of the participants said, "I thought I knew how to rest. now I know how to rest. And even experiences when we first starting, we were actually doing sessions for our family. And I remember my dad, he travels a lot, he works a lot, he kind of gets hooked up into like doing, you know, we're all doing things just for the sake of doing it, and we kind of can't stop. He finds it difficult to stop. And just bringing him into the forest, we didn't even do much, but just letting him rest. And he actually fell asleep under the yew trees. And knowing that that sleep would give him so much rest and relaxation, what was needed, it's just so beautiful. And I think I'm already eternally grateful to nature. And as I said in one of the articles, nature saved my life, but I'm even more grateful of that it can really benefit anyone. I've not seen a person who hasn't had an effect, a positive effect from being in nature. So yeah, that's why we are very grateful for everything we're doing now, and support from people as well. And also that people are becoming more aware, and also the way that we can help then protect the environments for future generations to benefit from these beautiful environments.
That's so beautifully shared. Thank you, guys. Yeah, thank you for joining me on this conversation. I feel like it will be so helpful to hear from you for everybody. So yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Thea.
Pleasure.
Okay.